This tutorial will show you how to interpret a standard report generated by the NutBal system. This section indicates the weight change goal, if any was listed in the information you provided on the sample sheet or online, as well as the projected daily weight gain or loss based on the diet quality analysis of the manure sample you sent to the GAN lab. The diet quality results are entered into the NutBal model that was set up with the characteristics of your herd. The weight change goal will show the daily weight needed to maintain BCS if a goal was not entered or included in the data sheet provided with the sample. NutBal will evaluate the diet quality relative to your herd requirements and estimate what is limiting animal performance from a protein and energy standpoint. It is important to note that even when animals are gaining weight, there is still always a first limiting nutrient. In this example, animal performance is limited by energy. Although energy is limiting animal performance, the animals are still gaining weight. This means there is enough excess protein being consumed to support additional gain if energy is added to the diet. This model estimates the change in weight and body condition after 30 days, should the quality of your forage stay similar to the conditions when you collected the manure sample. This section shows the name, amount fed, crude protein, and total digestible nutrients of any feeds that were fed to your herd that were described in the sample description sent with your sample or entered online. If the amounts of feeds listed are not adequate for meeting performance goals or maintaining body condition, NutBal will suggest a better feeding regimen for weight gain or maintaining body condition in the mediation report. If no feeds were listed, the report will show that no feeds were applied. This section provides information on the daily nutritional status of your herd based on the quality of diet your animals are eating, that is, the intake, versus what NutBal has estimated for your animal's nutritional requirements based on your animal's breed type, physiological status, environmental conditions, etc. A balance is calculated between the intake and requirement for crude protein and the net energy. Net energy is separated into the amount that is needed to maintain the animal versus the additional amount that is available for the animal to gain weight. The net energy for maintenance is called NEM, and the net energy for gain is called NEG. The balance row indicates whether or not the intake of crude protein and energy is sufficient for your animal's nutritional requirements. If the balance numbers listed for crude protein and NEM are positive numbers, then the forage your animal is eating is meeting its requirements and your animals are maintaining or gaining weight. Notice that if there's a positive balance for NEM, a portion of that balance is applied to NEG. However, not all of the excess NEM balance can be applied to NEG. This is because of energy waste or loss. For example, heat and/or methane production from the animal can result in losses of net energy. This section of the report breaks down the total intake of your animal into four main groups. These are concentrates, roughages, native forage, and the amount of intake from your nursing calves, if applicable. Concentrates are feeds such as range cubes, protein tubs, bag feeds, etc. that you are feeding as a supplement or what you may be considering to feed your animals. Roughages are feeds that generally contain a high amount of fiber such as hay, silage, or stover. NutBal will allow you to examine feeding as a strategy to see how your cattle may perform. So the supplementation of hay and other roughages not being currently fed will be reflected in the roughage row. Pasture reflects the intake of native forage. However, if you were feeding hay or silage at the time you sent in your manure sample and you noted this on your sample information, this would be reflected in the laboratory results and included in the intake for the forage category. If applicable, the calf dry weight per day section reports the portion of intake allocated to your nursing calf, as a cow-calf pair is considered a single unit. The numbers in this section of the report are listed on a pounds of dry matter basis instead of as fed or wet weight in order to account for weight variation due to moisture in the forage or feed. The daily dry matter intake values are also reported as a percent of a standard reference weight or animal weight at a BCS of 5. Additionally, the animal unit equivalents, or AUE, are also reported. A standard AUE, or an AUE of 1, describes a 1,000-pound dry cow consuming 26 pounds or 2.6% of body weight per day on a dry matter basis. This section displays the crude protein and digestible organic matter for the forage your animals are grazing, as well as the overall diet quality which includes the forage plus any supplements or hay that you are feeding. The digestible organic matter diet quality variable is a measure of energy. Digestible organic matter multiplied by 1.05 approximates the total digestible nutrients. A ratio of the digestible organic matter to the crude protein content can be used as an indicator of rumen efficiency in your animals. The acceptable range for this ratio is 4 to 8, with 4 being optimal. If the ratio is 4 or less, this usually means that your animals are grazing lush cool season or early spring pastures, which results in very runny or loose feces. When animals are grazing on native range in warm season during periods of adequate moisture, this ratio ranges from 5 to 6. During late summer, fall, and winter on native range, or during periods of drought, the ratio can be set. During late summer, fall, and winter on native range, or during periods of drought, the ratio can be greater than 7 or 8. In general, the ratio of digestible organic matter to crude protein is a reflection of the carbon to nitrogen ratio in the rumen. This balance is crucial for the rumen microbes to produce the microbial protein and energy that subsequently results in maintaining the weight in your animals or allowing them to gain weight. If the ratio is less than 4, there is excess nitrogen and not enough carbon to be used by the bacteria to produce protein and energy for the animal. Conversely, if the ratio is greater than 7, there is excess carbon but not enough nitrogen available to fuel the microbial production of protein and energy. So this number is very important for interpreting the diet quality results from your manure sample sent to the laboratory and can be used to assist in determining what supplemental feeds to use. Potential milk production is the average amount of milk that can be produced by your animals at a given point in the lactation cycle based on the protein and energy balance conditions at the time you send in your sample. If actual milk yield is less than potential milk yield, this would indicate that a protein and/or energy deficiency exists and may need to be addressed through supplementation or other management in order to maintain potential milk production. This section describes the amount of feces that was being deposited on the ground per day at the time you collected your sample. It also reports the proportion of phosphorus to nitrogen. This is provided for producers who may be interested in evaluating the amount of nitrogen and phosphorus that they are returning to the soil. The model weather section provides information on the weather conditions that were used in the nut bale analysis to examine animal performance. If temperatures are too hot or too cold, in combination with high winds or humidity, this can result in reduced animal performance. These data are extracted from a database provided by the Weather Service. The Weather Service derives these data from nearby weather stations and satellite data, so they may not always reflect the exact weather conditions at the time you collected your sample. Congratulations! You have finished the tutorial. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to call or email the GAN Lab. Thank you.